Henyunya, Henyunya. Money can't buy your class. Chic, c'est la vie. C'est bon, c'est bon.
Hey everybody, it's me, Jill, and welcome to Jill Informed. This is the recap of The Real Housewives of New York City, Season 10, Episode 19, Life is a Cabaret. This is also the Season 10 finale. Oh, I can't believe it's over, you guys. This went by so fast. New York City ladies continue to kill it, and I loved every minute of it. Real quick before I get started, don't forget to stick around to the end of this video where I will answer one of your questions. Okay, let's get started. This episode begins 10 hours before the cabaret show. LuAnn is now in the back room after her sound check with Ben, who is the director, and she's talking about Sonia now. And she said, I told her, my mom will be there, the children will be there. I don't want to be your snatch guard. Cut over to Sonia, who is with Ramona in a spa getting pedicures. And Sonia's saying how, yeah, I don't really have to memorize anything. I can pretty much just wing it and get through just about anything. I can't wait. I guess we're just seeing a bunch of these little scenes of what people are doing during the day leading up to the show, because then we see Bethenny getting her makeup on at her house. We see Victoria, LuAnn's daughter, coming to bring her flowers for the show. And, you just can't see her without thinking in the back of your mind about the lawsuit, right? It's so sad. Dorinda comes over to Tinsley's house, and Dorinda's got a rainbow sequin jumpsuit on, and they are all ready to go to this cabaret. And Tinsley, quite innocently, asks Dorinda, so is John coming tonight? And Dorinda said, no, he wasn't invited. We then see LuAnn's confessional, where she says, early this morning, as I was on my way to get a mammogram, I get a call from Dorinda. And she asks if John can come. Okay, side note, you scheduled a mammogram for the day of your cabaret? I mean, not that you couldn't do it in the same day, but anyway, according to LuAnn, she said, well, John is always welcome. You only had to ask, but you didn't, did you? I guess because it was the day of, there were no seats left or something. Anyway, Dorinda told her that she wasn't kind, and LuAnn's like, are you kidding me? It's the day of my show. I'm not sure how that went down or what. If she really did only ask the day of, that seems a little, I'm not sure. I don't feel like I'm getting the whole story. Anyway, all the ladies are starting to arrive at the show, and they're sitting down, and Tinsley whispers to Carole, I didn't know if I should say anything earlier, and I didn't want to make Dorinda feel bad, but LuAnn invited Scott to the cabaret this morning. And Carole's like, what? And she goes, yeah, I have the text. So she shows Carole the text. Apparently that morning, LuAnn had said, hey, Tinsley, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it, but if Scott's in town, he's more than welcome to come. So she said, I didn't know if I should tell Dorinda or not. Carole advises her to tell Dorinda in the interest of transparency. She even switches seats with Dorinda and pretends to care about Bethenny's new apartment in order for Dorinda to be sitting right next to Tinsley. So Tinsley does tell Dorinda, and as you might have expected, that went really well. Dorinda asks to see the text and then takes the phone and shows everybody else at the table. She's met Scott once. She's known me for 6 years. To the confession cam, Sonia said, this is Lou's night. She shouldn't be bringing up John. Okay, now, in my opinion, John should never be brought up in any circumstance ever. John is like Voldemort to me. He who shall not be named. I would be happy if we never spoke of him again, and even happier if we never saw him again. But Dorinda has a point. I mean, in her mind, she thinks that she asked if John could come earlier today, and then later she invited Scott. So if that's the place you're coming from, I get why Dorinda is upset. But also, let's face it, she doesn't like LuAnn. I'm not even sure why she's there, except for the fact that this is the last big party for the reunion episode where all the ladies have to be gathered in the same place. That, more than anything else, probably explains why Dorinda even came to the cabaret show. So while, Dorinda is just seething, LuAnn is now introduced, and she comes out. She's dancing through the crowds. Hey, everybody, hello. Welcome to my show, everybody. Yeah, it's jazzy. Oh, God. And then the camera cuts over to Dorinda, and she is just scowling and chewing on something for some reason. LuAnn does look beautiful, but of course Dorinda has to say, I got her those dresses. Okay, so LuAnn opens with a bunch of funny jokes. She talks about her arrest. I was detained. And, there are certain songs I can't do. Jailhouse Rock, for example. And, the crowd's laughing. Ramona says, I love how she owns it in such a funny way. I gotta tell you guys, I was pleasantly surprised at how well this show went. Rachel Dratch came out, who I love, and Bridget Everett, and then some other people I don't really know. I mean, honestly, it was pretty legit. So anyway, Dorinda is now getting louder and probably drunker by the moment. So every time LuAnn comes out in a different outfit, thank you, Giovanni. That's from Giovanni. I got her those dresses. Oh, God. Every time. Another Giovanni. Okay, we get it, Dorinda. And apparently LuAnn could hear her from the stage, because to the confessional, LuAnn said, I could hear Dorinda. Listen, you brought me to a showroom and every dress fit me like a glove. Don't be throwing your jealous energy up here on the stage. No, girlfriend. I've got this. I have literally written down in my notes, I've got this, rotates shoulders. Because what is this? It wasn't even a shimmy. It was I've got this. Okay. Oh, I love you so much, LuAnn. And listen, Dorinda's behavior was obnoxious, to be sure, but leave it to LuAnn to totally miss the point by a mile. Do you really think this is about the fact that she's jealous about how good those dresses look on you? Come on. All right, now it is time for Sonia to get up on stage. And this was very anticlimactic to me because we saw so many previews of her dress flying off of her, and it was really just a brief second. And I don't even think the camera caught the beginning of it. Anyway, they're singing along with Shockwave, the beatboxer. Now, I don't know exactly what I expected Shockwave to look like, but a 12-year-old white boy? Not that. Not what I was expecting. And this guy was from Hamilton? Maybe Bravo just didn't show him in his best light. Anyway, like I said, the dress falling off wasn't really much to write home about. She kind of leaned forward. It was like a wraparound dress, so she must have untied it and let it all kind of like fall forward, and then she's gathering it in the back and reties it real quick. We saw a little bit of her underwear, and that was kind of it. To the confessional, Sonia goes, come on, give me some credit. All my dresses are trained to come off at 11. It's how I stay so young. All right, fair enough. Okay, now it's the Cabaret after party. Right away, Bethenny is reporting to Sonia everything that Dorinda was saying. Every single comment, that's a Giovanni, every single time she came out in a different outfit, and how she was a big sourpuss the whole time. Sonia said, what does she just want so much credit for those dresses? It's like the Nutcracker thing. Well, that was the perfect thing to say to Bethenny, because Bethenny's like, yeah, right? It's like the Nutcracker 10.0. All right, so they're bonding over that. And Sonia mentions that Dorinda may need to go to rehab like LuAnn did. Then to the confessional, Sonia said, well, I mean, listen, I'm not judging her. I mean, what is that saying about glass houses? I can't really say anything, but I just think she might like it, like Lu did. Okay, so that's why you're suggesting rehab. Not that she needs to get a handle on her drinking, just that she may enjoy 21 days of rest. All right, so Dorinda comes up to Bethenny and Carole, and she decides to go home. And Bethenny and Carole are in agreement about something for the first time in several months, because both of them think that's a good idea if Dorinda goes home. But she doesn't exactly go home, does she? First, you see, like, Bridget Everett stops her on her way out and gets her talking, and then I don't know what happened, but she didn't leave. Bethenny and Carole are sitting at the bar, and they're having a nice conversation. I mean, it's pretty surface, but it seems friendly enough. It seems a little bit like there's a tiny little spark of normalcy to the conversation. It isn't a fight, and it isn't this big, heavy, you hurt me, but I love you. It isn't that kind of a conversation. It just seems like a conversation two actual real friends might have. Then Ramona walks up. And Bethenny says to her, oh, can I just finish up a conversation I'm having with her real quick? But Ramona does not want to leave. So Ramona says, why can't I be here? And Bethenny's like, it was a private conversation. I just had one more thing I wanted to say to her. And she's like, well, okay, but when should I come back? 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5 minutes? And Bethenny's looking at her like, what the hell? She's like, give me a second to talk to her. What's the matter with you? But Ramona has another agenda, so she doesn't want to leave. So she finally says, actually, Bethenny, I wanted to talk to you about something. And Bethenny, very snarkily, is that a word? I don't know, says, oh, okay, great. Well, then call my secretary and schedule an appointment. So she starts anyway. You didn't come to my skincare launch party. And Bethenny's like, yeah, okay. You didn't say anything? You didn't tell me you weren't coming or anything? Well, that really hurts my feelings. All right, noted, got it. Carole, by the way, got up and slunk out of there because she didn't want any part of this conversation. So finally, Ramona wasn't getting what she wanted out of Bethenny. So Ramona takes off. And she goes over by where Carole is, and she says to her, I can't even talk to her. She says she supports women, but she doesn't support other women. And Carole says, you know what? You need to lower your expectations with some people. When you know who that person is, you just need to lower your expectations, and then you won't be so disappointed. Well, Carole may not be one of Avery's friends, but she just gave the best advice ever. Because to the confessional, Ramona said, Carole's advice to lower my expectations with Bethenny was brilliant. Oh, God. I love when Ramona has these light bulb moments. And then she ends with, I have no expectations from that bitch anymore. Oh, okay. Now everyone's wondering where LuAnn is. And to the confessional, LuAnn said, always leave people waiting for the star to arrive. It was one cabaret show. Really? This is gonna go to your head? Okay, so she does arrive like the queen, and people are kissing her and congratulating her, including Dorinda. Tells her she had a great show and gives her a kiss on both cheeks. But then to the confessional, Dorinda said, I always do the right thing. I stayed and congratulated her so that I knew now I was free to go. Okay, then go. But no, she couldn't help herself. literally like 2 seconds after congratulating her. And that's another outfit I gave her. Bethenny's like, oh, let me guess, Giovanni? Yeah, it's another Giovanni. Bethenny's saying something to her like, you can't do this. Don't do this right now. Oh, I can. Now Bethenny is trying to get to the bottom of this inviting Scott, not inviting John thing. So she goes over to LuAnn and she does exactly what she told Dorinda not to do. This is LuAnn's night. Let her enjoy it with her guests and her family and her friends. But no, Bethenny, because it's Bethenny's idea now, because now Bethenny wants to get to the bottom of it, so she interrupts a conversation that LuAnn is having with Bridget Everett to ask her about whether she invited John. Bethenny. Anyway, LuAnn said, I thought John was coming. I just didn't have a seat at the table. So because she thought John was coming, she thought to herself, oh, well, I mean, the other girls don't have men right now, but it might look bad if I don't invite Scott. So that's why she texted Tinsley at the last minute and invited Scott. Now, I don't know if you believe her story or not. Dorinda doesn't, for sure. And I'm not sure I do, but at least it's some sort of an explanation. Nothing else really makes sense to me. Not that I don't think LuAnn is kind of still holding a grudge with Dorinda, but because I don't think LuAnn would turn down anybody coming to see her cabaret show. I think first and foremost, she wants a packed house. So that's the only reason I kind of believe her, and I'm not quite sure what went down. Like I said, Bethenny went back and told Dorinda what LuAnn said, and Dorinda's calling BS on that because she said it was never made clear that John was invited. Enough with John. Who wants John at a party? Rubbing up against you? Yuck. John needs to spend the majority of his time alone in his little office at Madame Paulette. That way it does the least amount of damage. In my mind, anyway. So Dorinda goes off to the bar to get another drink. When she comes back to the group, LuAnn comes over to the group now, and she says, listen, I want to clarify something here. Dorinda, don't worry about it. It's fine. I don't want to talk about it. And she's like, no, I want to clarify something. No, I don't want to hear it. You were great. The show was great. It's your night. You looked beautiful and all the dresses were great. Thank you for inviting me. And thank you for inviting Scott this morning. And then as if Dorinda thinks this is a mic drop, she looks at Tinsley and she goes, show her the text. Tinsley's like, well, no. And LuAnn goes, I don't need to see the text. I sent the text. I want to clarify what happened. But Dorinda did not want to give her a chance to talk. So she just said, don't worry about it. And she walked out and got her coat and left. Now we get the final updates for each one of the ladies. And we start with Dorinda. She has apparently moved from her apartment on the Upper East Side to Midtown. And it says that she and LuAnn remain estranged. I'm kind of surprised by that. I feel kind of bad about that. Next is Ramona. Ramona's is funny. It says Ramona has lowered her expectations with Bethenny and is living her best life. Funny. Also, I guess she moved too, or her apartment in New York is on the market. While they're showing these blurbs for each of the ladies, you see a little bit of the conversation, and everyone's kind of leaving for the evening. Bethenny's leaving and saying goodbye to Carole, and this last scene with them makes me sad. It really felt like she and Carole were getting along at the end there. Bethenny, as she was leaving, she was kind of joking about their relationship and how, it started off like maybe we both came in too hot, and we need to cool it down a little bit. We need to give each other some space, but not in a defensive way or anything like that, in a really kind of funny way, and Carole was laughing about it. It did make me sad. And then Carole hugged her and said, I really do care about you. And she said, I know, me too. I really care about you too. And that's how it ended. And so anyway, it was sad because then in the little update for Bethenny, it said that she found a tenant for that house in the Hamptons that was on the highway, and that she continues to help disaster victims, but that her crisis with Carole has seen no relief. So, and we know that to be true anyway, just from like what we know from social media and stuff. But it was still sad. Next was Carole's, and it said Carole is moving on, as we now all know. She's going to focus on new projects and less toxic relationships or something like that. Sonia's update was that by sticking to her guns, she got a renter to pay $32,000 a month for her townhouse. But my question is this, where is she now? They didn't even say anything about that. We heard that Dorinda sold her place and moved to Midtown. Where did Sonia move to? Maybe she moved in with Tinsley. No. Tinsley didn't even want to spend like one night with her, so I know that didn't happen. And speaking of Tinsley, her update was that she was tired of waiting for the Coupon King to join her in New York and spend more time with her, so she moved out of the penthouse and back into a smaller hotel apartment. Did Scott ever even move into that penthouse? It just says that she and Scott continue to be on and off again, which is true. I think they're on again right now, but every time she's on Watch What Happens Live, it's a different answer. Oh, well, we're broken up right now. No, I'm seeing Scott again. Yeah, I'm so happy. So, I don't know. That can't be good, right? I'm not even sure what the deal is. Is it just them trying to make a long-distance relationship work? Or is there something deeper going on? And finally, the star of the season, LuAnn. LuAnn's update says, riding high after the success of her #Countess and Friends shows, she took a little bit of a stumble and is back in rehab, which we also know due to social media. I guess I'm glad she's still working at it, All right, so that's it for the season. From previews, it looks like we've got pretty juicy reunion to look forward to, even without the Countess, because, the rehab coincided with her filming that. So we've got that to look forward to. All right, now it is time for me to pick one of your questions or comments and answer it on the air. Okay, this week I picked a question from What FC. What up, FC? Sorry. And you said you didn't address Dennis's death. Perhaps you filmed this before news broke. My question is, do you think issues with Dennis, which were obviously quite intense and complex, are what made Bethenny so frantic this season? Okay, I also had somebody else ask me why I didn't address the Dennis situation, and you were right. I filmed before the news broke. So not to get into like a big long story about my filming process, but I tend to watch the episode the night it airs or the very next day and film it very soon after that, so that even though I take notes, I still need it to be kind of fresh in my mind so that I can remember stuff. And even then, you guys know I get stuff wrong, but so if I didn't film it Wednesday night, I filmed it Thursday. I don't think I heard about Dennis until that weekend, maybe Friday. But in any case, it was after I filmed. So that's why I missed addressing it. And I'll address it now. It was sad. I just saw this online article from People magazine that came out on August 13th saying that Dennis had proposed to Bethenny. Now, I didn't even think they were on again at the time of his death. And maybe they weren't, but they say they're getting this information from one of Bethenny's friends. The quote from the friend is, he proposed to her with a ring in April. She didn't wear the ring because they had some things to work out first. There were some hurdles to overcome before she could make that level of a commitment. She loved him, he's her family, her best friend, and her confidant, her partner and her business partner. Okay, well, I mean, that just makes it all the worse. For those of you who don't know, I think all we really know right now is that he overdosed on prescription medication. I think it was OxyContin. And that he was at Trump Tower, and that I think he called an assistant to come with this other drug that counteracts an overdose. So I don't think it was intentional. I don't know why he's taking prescription drugs. I mean, they're horribly addictive. It's just a horrible, sad thing. And I just feel really, really bad. So now that I took all that time, so let me just quickly answer your question. Do I think that had something to do with Bethenny? Yeah, I'm sure it did, don't you? If he was struggling with an addiction or dealing with chronic pain or for whatever reason he was on these narcotics, I don't know, but I'm sure that weighed on her. As if she didn't have enough stuff with Jason, the divorce, the custody battle. Also, I just read that Jason's lawyers are using Dennis and his death against Bethenny. Something having to do with the people she surrounds herself with and not being good for Brynn. If this wasn't somebody's real life, I would say, oh, this is too unbelievable. You could have one or two bad things happen to her, but not all of this, because nobody's going to believe it. Yeah, I feel bad for her. I know she has issues and she irritates me, and I know she irritates many of you guys as well. But I think we can all agree that this is just tragically sad, So thank you, What FC. That was a great question. And if you guys want the chance to have a question read on the air, keep the comments and questions coming. I love to hear from you guys. As always, please subscribe to Jill Informed if you haven't already. Please give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And I hope to see you guys next Wednesday for the reunion at 1 p.m. Central Time. See you then. Bye-bye.